Welcome to our former Digital Byte Lunch and Learn, where we offer 15 minutes learning nuggets on the digitalization in the process industry. Today, I'm talking to Martin Bergmann, Director Product Management and Strategy Development at Bilfinger Digital Next, about the key aspects of developing a vague digitalization idea into a scalable business model. Hi, Martin. Thanks for joining us today.
Hi, Ned.
You and the Bilfinger Digital Next team started as a digitalization and innovation lab a few years ago. To better understand where we have come from, can you please very briefly describe what the status of digitalization was like back then in the process industry?
Sure. So I would say in 2018, digitalization was already a hype topic, although I would say, still many were not really aware of what does it mean. So I would say it was still very much focused on individual topics like AI, blockchain, drones, 3D printing, all these kind of topics. And so therefore, I would say you also saw the digitalization very much focused on singular topics and also the execution on individual projects. I would say there was not so much already thinking about a holistic view on digitalization, transforming the business model, for example, also really setting up a new organization. This is what you now recently see. And I think what also was a bit lacking is this adaptation of cloud technology. So it was, there was still the hope maybe that you can do a lot about on-prem. And I would say, therefore, since there was still skepticism around the cloud implementation, also the scalability of many initiatives was not given. And I would then also say, as a consequence, that most initiatives were really about digitizing processes, mostly for efficiency gains, so like from paper to digital, for example. In 2018, we also founded Bilfinger Digital Next in this environment. And I would say, since it was very vague, what does it mean, digitalization, we had the freedom to come up with fresh ideas, I would say, to a bit surprise Bilfinger and the market. And I think this was then the foundation for building up products like BCAP, a platform for building up data-based optimization solutions. And of course also PitGraph to digitize P&IDs, and that's it.
Okay, but this was 3 years ago, so quite a long time for digitalization. What is your view on the current state in the process industry?
So from a technical point of view, I would say the adoption of cloud, this has definitely increased. I mean, you see this also when you look at what kind of skills companies are now hiring. You more often see cloud engineers, cloud architects. I would say an indicator for the adoption of the cloud technology. You also see companies more hiring, for example, data scientists, and then like these digital skills. And also more companies are coming up with their own, let's say, digital departments. So having a CDO, and this is more and more often you can see this. However, I would say it's still not really a real digital transformation. So I would say still the business model is often more or less the same. It get enhanced with digitalization. So companies use more and more digital methods, for example, also predictive maintenance and condition monitoring to improve the internal processes in the production and maintenance. And they also use digitalization to, for example, improve how they are presenting themselves towards the customer. But it's often still a patchwork of individual POCs or individual projects, and there's not that often a real holistic frame that is basically covering all of those initiatives. And and then maybe the last observation is, as I said, about the business model, that I would say still many companies are really not really thinking about converting their business model, for example, to platform-based business model. You see this sometimes, but it's still very rare to see this.
Okay, so you successfully utilizing digitalization, does it always imply an adaptation of the entire business model?
No. I mean, there are other areas. So I would say there are three areas. Number one is you can look at gaining efficiency improvements, of course. So you can look at, as I said before, this paper to digital. I mean, I still see often companies, for example, typing like when they process invoices, that they have a department that is basically just typing the numbers from the invoice into their ERP system, stuff like that. And of course, this should be and can be automated. Then another point is this having new sales channels and getting closer to the customer. This is, I think, what you really also see for already very sales-driven organizations. For example, some pharmaceutical companies, if they place a CDO, Chief Digital Officer, I have to see quite often that then the Chief Digital Officer is mostly focusing on marketing and sales initiatives, and not so much, for example, on having a predictive maintenance program in-house. And I would say the third part is having new business models. This is probably the most comprehensive part of the digital transformation. And this is, for example, what I said about this platform business model earlier. So there's, for example, one company is producing fertilizers now, and they're thinking about going into digital farming to get closer to the end customer. And this is interesting because at the same time, also a company active in the machines to do the farming, they're also going to digital farming. So it's so interesting to see that digital farming is entered from two angles, and one is a classical chemical company. This is still rare, but it's happening more and more.
Okay, and when we look at where we come from, maybe as an example, establishing a product like PitGraph that's digitizing P&IDs, how was it first established, that vague digitalization idea?
So the idea came, I would say, mostly through observation. We did not actively ask someone about PitGraph. We had a project where P&IDs had to be digitized. It was done manually. Customer asked us how much it would be if we would do this manual conversion on a much larger scale, and it turned out that this would be too expensive if you do it in the traditional way, like redrawing the P&ID. So we came up with the idea of PitGraph using AI to basically detect elements on a P&ID to speed up the process. This was the foundation, and yeah, then basically we very quickly started building a prototype, testing it with the market. We got a very good response, and then very soon also entering our first customer, and then using this first customer both basically as a co-development partner to really yeah, make PitGraph ready for the real world and not just a nice demo as it was maybe at the very beginning. And so we gradually learned more and more, and this is how PitGraph started as a business to digitize P&IDs.
Okay, but entering the market successfully, of course, is not the end of the story. The solution must be scale on the long term. What difficulties did you experience, and how did you overcome those?
So maybe first about scaling and entering the market. If take again PitGraph uses machine learning. So as the name implicates, the machine learns the more data it gets. So this means at the very beginning of the development process, since we did not have very much P&IDs, PitGraph wasn't that efficient. And now it's the question, how do you make the pricing here? Do you make the pricing at the current state? Then it's not that attractive to a customer, and your main value proposition is not even visible in the price. Or do you do the pricing in a way that based on what you believe you can achieve maybe in 1 or 2 years to quickly enter the market and get more training data? And we decided to go for this latter option, so a very aggressive price, and this helped to quickly get customers. and to quickly get data to train and to actually even build a requirement for scaling. I think additionally, you really need to learn to say no. So in Pitcraft case, focus on P&IDs, not on electrical drawings, for example, although very attractive. But at the same time, often really listen to the customer about the requirements they have. Not accept everything, but especially when you want to master one challenge, like converting P&IDs and migrating them, carefully listen to the customer. And so it's really just having the focus, but still being open. And I think another very important point is having a vision, because a vision helps you to, I would say, motivate your own team internally, make them believe. But on the other hand, it also helps the customer believing in your solution and in the journey you want to go with the customer, especially the first ones. And I would say maybe the last part, in order to be technically able to actually execute the vision, you should already think about the scalable technical foundation from the very beginning. So, for example, having a microservice-based architecture.
Yes, the technical foundation must also be there. So, yeah, you're talking about the vision. I was thinking about, what future trends will we look at in the upcoming years? How do you see the process industry there developing?
So, I would say apart from mostly known trends, one thing I think will definitely come up more and more is the topic of graph databases and contextualization, because more and more companies have learned that if you want to scale internally, for example, your database initiatives, machine learning projects, whatever, you need to have a solid foundation of data available. Otherwise, you have to basically rebuild, redo the data engineering again and again. And here I'm a big believer in graph databases, and for the process industry specifically based on digitized P&IDs, which are stored in the graph, as for example Pitcraft does, to basically build up the digital twin. And this is then, in my opinion, also the foundation for new business models. So again, this platform thinking about what I said on the fertilizer company, but it can also be for Bilfinger a new way to go. For example, Pitcraft, that we go away from this purely business model where we get paid per digitized P&IDs to a state where we get paid per access towards a graph database, and in this sense that we are also then responsible for maintaining the P&IDs and make sure that they're still up to date.
Okay, so coming to the end, maybe you can sum up what are the key takeaways when starting a digitalization idea?
I think maybe 3 points. So number one is be focused. Don't do too many things at the beginning, and stay there. Keep focused and know your business case. Number two is important, having a vision. So although you have a focus, make clear where the journey is going to, and of course be here flexible to get both your internal organization behind you, but also customers. And point three is make sure from the very beginning that your technical solution is scalable. So really think about, when you're staffing your team, also about, for example, cloud architects, cloud engineers, but not only about, for example, data scientists. And this, I think, is important to do from the very beginning.
Okay, thanks, Martin. Thanks a lot. We're at the end of this Lunch and Learn session. And thanks everyone for joining us. Please also check out our website for more webinars and other Lunch and Learn sessions. And of course, get in touch with us for more information. Thanks, Martin, and have a good day. Bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.